Hey YouTubers, it's Janelle, and I know you guys are probably saying, gee, this chick disappears forever and a day and then all of a sudden she comes back and she's putting out 500 videos every 2 days. Well, yeah, it just works that way in my life. But anyway, this is not a tutorial or anything about beauty or product review or anything like that. I just got to thinking about something today after I had a customer come into the store, and as I was assisting her, you know, she was commenting on my hair, on my locks. She happened to be African American, and she said something that got me thinking. She looked at my hair and she asked how long I had my locks, and I told her it was a little over a year, and she was saying, I think that is just the neatest hairstyle, you know, but I just don't know if I'd be able to do it, you know, etc., etc. But the part that really struck me, she kept going on and on about how she thought locks were just the neatest hairstyle. She thought they were just the bomb, you know, that she just loved locks. And she kept saying hairstyle, hairstyle, referring to it as a hairstyle. And it made me start thinking a little bit about, you know, the debate of locks being just a hairstyle or a total lifestyle. And I got to thinking about the growth and cultivation of my locks in terms of what I've experienced. And you know, it kind of amazes me how anybody could think of locks as being just hair, just a style. And I mean, not that I'm putting down anybody who thinks of it that way, but the reason it amazes me is because of all the changes and all the processes that you go through when you start locks. First of all, cultivating locks is not something that you do for maybe 3 or 4 months and then they're all of a sudden there. It really is a process, and it's a time-consuming process unless you decide to go the lock extension route. But it is a process. If you are working with natural hair, especially for us women, a lot of us, you know, we've got chemicals in our hair, texturizers, etc., etc. I mean, we've done things to the natural texture of our hair that has permanently changed the natural texture of our hair. Therefore, if we decide that we want to cultivate locks, we've got to do something with that forever changed hair because it won't lock. And for most of us, that means we are doing a BC or big chop. We are cutting the chemically altered hair. We're cutting it back to the stage where we can get to our naturally textured hair, which in and of itself is a big deal for a lot of us. And then once we do that, you know, we put in 2-strand twist or comb coils, or we tease the hair, or we latch it with, you know, as in sister locks, or we do, you know, 3-strand braids and let it grow out into locks. And again, the sectioning and the parting to get them set is time consuming. It's not something that's instantaneous. It takes time. And then to actually get to the point where we no longer have the coils or the 2-strand twists, and we can say our hair really now looks more like actual locks, is time consuming. It doesn't happen overnight, and you go through stages where I started with comb coils, and the comb coils were nice and shiny and tight little spirally curls, soft and springy to the touch, and they were just the cutest little things, and I just loved them. And then after, you know, 6-8 weeks, all of a sudden I woke up one morning and they were still coils, but they had undergone a change. All of a sudden they had kind of puffed out a little bit and gotten fat, and they weren't nearly as smooth as they had started out being. They didn't have that high glossy shine. But that was okay. I still thought they were cute. But then they changed again. And not only were they fat and puffy and not quite as smooth as they had once been, but they got even fuzzier. And all of a sudden they decided that they weren't going to lay down the way I wanted them to, because of course when they were set in, they were in this nice pattern and all the little spirals just laid just so in the grid that my loctician set, and they looked really cute and they were really well behaved. And then we got to the point where it didn't matter if I tied them down at night, if I smushed them in the morning, if I dampened them a little bit and kind of ran my fingers through to kind of get them going the direction I wanted them to go. They were going to do what they was going to do, and they was doing what they was doing, so that eventually if I kept them long enough, they would do what they was to do so they could go where they was to go, if you get what I'm saying. They had a mind of their own, and their mind was not necessarily my mind. And I went through a stage where physically I did feel somewhat unattractive. On days where it was really bad, and I perceived it as being really bad, I wore head wraps and I wore scarves and I hid those puppies because I was uncomfortable with them. And again, it was a process, because I didn't get out of that stage overnight either. Even though I loved what I wanted as the end result, there were definitely some days before I got to where I am now where I thought, I am not feeling this. You know, I mean, I'm being really truthful. There were days when I just really felt that way. And it was somewhat of an emotional impact. And there was a spiritual component to it also for me, because in seeing my natural texture after so many years of not dealing with it, and in seeing the way that my hair behaved in spite of what I did to it to get it to the way I thought it should be, it highlighted some insecurities that I had about myself. It highlighted the fact that there were still parts of me I really wasn't too crazy about. I mean, parts of me, real parts of me, emotional parts of me, spiritual parts of me that I really didn't like. It exposed some flaws in my thinking, because I'd always said, well, you know, you may not physically be beautiful, but everybody has their good points and we're all beautiful in some way, yada, yada, yada. Well, it was time at that point to put up or shut up. You know, I talked the talk. If I was going to keep my locks and persevere until my hair really locked, I was going to have to walk the walk, because I definitely didn't feel beautiful at this point. But it forced me to look inside. It forced me to grow emotionally. It forced me to find that deep well of fortitude and strength within myself that I had never really thought about, and at certain points I wasn't even sure that I had. So I say that to say this: how can anyone who is just starting their lock journey, or who has progressed in their lock journey, or who hasn't even started yet, but they are contemplating starting this particular process, how can they even think that this is just a hairstyle? Even if you don't feel a deep, profound spiritual change or emotional change with this, how can you just envision this as just a hairstyle? Anyway, I'd really like some responses to this. You know, for me, it's been, part of it is a hairstyle, but it goes so much deeper than that for me. And I would really like for you guys to share your opinions on this. And again, remember, this is just my opinion. I'm not putting anybody down that thinks differently from me, but I would really like to kind of get responses about this, just to see where other folks are, where their thoughts are at, where their minds are at on this question. So if you would, just hit me up in the comments section and leave me a little message telling me how you feel about this and how you view your locks, or how you view the possibility of starting locks. Okay, I guess I gotta go now because I'm not sure how long this has run, but you guys be blessed, and I will definitely holler back at you later. Bye-bye.